Friends, today I will tell you about the famous Indian woman writer Mahaswethadevi. Mahaswethadevi's stories that come from remote villages from Rajasthan, and she wrote several stories and novels. The novel depicted novel title depicted the funeral wailer, the struggle of an oppressed woman against the feudal system. And she also writes about the prostitutes, poor people, and the laborers in the remote countryside of Rajasthan. Mahasweta Devi was born in 1926 in the city of Dhaka in East Bengal, born into a literary family. Mahasweta Devi also was influenced by her early association with Gananatya, a group who attempted to bring social and political change by playing drama in rural areas in Bengal in 1930s and 40s. After finishing a master's degree in English literature from Calcutta University, she began working as a teacher and a journalist. Her book, Jhansi Rani, that was the first book published in 1956. In 1984, she retired from her job as an English teacher at Calcutta University to concentrate on her writing. She has been the recipient of several literary prizes. Uh, she was awarded the Jnanapith Award, India's highest literary award, in 1955. She is a long-time champion of political, social, and economic development, the advancement of tribal communities, whom she characterizes as suffering spectators of the India that is traveling into the 21st century. Many of her stories, including The Funeral Wailer, are about a tribal fighting oppression, resisting exploitation, rebelling against authority. She doesn't have connection with any school of thought, or yet her sympathetic portrayal of subjugation of women and consequent revolt invariably adds a feminist dimension to her work. Women characters are stronger than that of men. In Funeral Wailer, Shanichari, the protagonist, is an active Dalit widow who lives in a village of Bihar, living under the burden of earning for her family. Without any earning family members, she faces many difficulties feeding his family, as she was cursed as a witch who was devoured the man of the house. Shanichari was alone, and she finds a supporter in her long lost friend Bikini, another ill fated Dalit woman who was left alone by her own son. Everyone said she led such a hard and sad life, but finding Bikini has been a blessing for her. The two form a deep bond and a partner of survival as they discover financial help in a different occupation as hired mourners. Mourners means weepers. To add pretension to the funerals of the feudal rich in their two-faced society. The new profession gave them the first sense of mastery, but then Senichari suffers another blow when Bikini dies from dysentery as a given lack of basic medical care. After passing much of this loss, Senichari is moreover shocked, but she refuses to take a break and emerges as a rebel against her isolation. She visits the brothel to recruit the band of wailers all by herself. From among the prostitutes, where she encounters her fiercely defiant runaway daughter-in-law's Parvatia, her own daughter-in-law. Wishing to free them from miscreants of the flesh trade, Shanichari motivates them on how to surpass the false mourners at funerals of the rich landlords, where, to quote, when you start to weep as if you have lost someone close to you, someone dear to your heart, beat your breast and cry out with such feeling that your blood runs out. She teaches them. So this mourning is made a sort of a prosperous business by these two Dalit women. Of course, it bitter is a bitter satire on the contemporary feudal society. The story claims with these prostitutes make faking loud mourning, a death of the very man who pushed them to the fire of prostitution. There is a sense of freedom from their indignation life in the alternative profession that seems then Sans earns them cash, food, grains, and goodies without having to sell their bodies. Representing the margin is about the representation of socio-cultural margins in this fiction, Indian fiction, written in various Indian languages, including English. The main agenda concerned in such novels are of caste and gender issues, which was prominent subject of the post and pre-independence era. The subject of marginalization, concept of marginalization means to make somebody feel as they are not important and cannot influence decisions or events, or to put somebody in a powerless position. The very opening of the story is that Sinichari be treated as a commodity and thrown away as her commoditized existence becomes useless to the males in her life. The tragic fate of tribal girls like Shanichari is clearly presented by Mahaswetha Devi in this short story. The Indian paramilitary forces sought to subjugate the tribal people by burning their huts, by looting their possessions and killing them, and by raping their women. Mahasweta Devi discriminates between the civilized ordinary reader reading a short story about the conditions of exploited tribals sitting in his or her comfortable hearth and home, and condition of the Oh Haram Mudra girls. When someone died in the Malik Mahajan household, the amount of money spent on the death ceremony immediately raised the prestige of the family. The status of the wailer also rose, so we can offer worship to Shiva as well. After all, we have managed to save up several rupees, to unquote. Such are the degrading conditions in which the low caste women is destined to live, and such women are termed as separate caste, a caste of low caste whore women. It is the women who ruined by the Malik Mahajan who turned them into whores. The Malik Mahajan demands honor even when he is a corpse. But Shanichari rises to this occasion and sees the opportunity by making it an act of revenge expression of the historical opposition. Shanichari, the protagonist, thought that perhaps her tears had been reserved for the time when she could have to feed herself by selling them. It can also be identified as an unpredictable part of advancement of cultural policies of the descent and difference from the hierarchical marginalized people of India. And it was also true that she couldn't weep when her own husband died, and when her own son also died. It can be justly termed as a representation to cultural politics. Sanachari was marginalized firstly as a girl child, and she was forced to get married at the time of adolescence, and then her mother-in-law was also responsible for her marginalization. She was also taunted her, saying that she was born on Saturday. That's why she is named as Shani Chari. Shani, one who is born on the day of Shani, Saturn. Saturday on her own name was inauspicious. He even said that Shanichari's life is full of sufferings and brought a bad luck to their family. This made Shanichari feel rebellious against her mother-in-law also. Shanichari was compelled to go for the profession of a paid mourner because there was nobody to provide her with the basic necessities for life. For them, nothing has ever come easy. Just a struggle for a little maize, gruel, and salt is exhausting. While these people stand huge sums of money on the death ceremony just to gain prestige, unquote. Lastly, she turned up to be the funeral veiler just to earn their lively bread. The funeral veiler is about how to survive as human beings. She had to sell her tears, which are never shed at the death of her own relatives, her own mother in law, husband, and son, and her own people, but the death of the landowners so that she could earn livelihood. Thus, the funeral veiler, almost it's a masterpiece of Mahaswetha Devi, told in the third person narrative, is a tragic and funny and absurd story of poor women in Asthan turning to the merchants of sorrow, because both poor women invert a heart of wailing for women, and at the time of death of the eminent persons in the village, this very profession of weeping shows the bleakness of their poverty and tragic comic side of their low but complementary life. The serious is strangely made satirically humorous in this tragic comic long story. It's a bit of satire on the low and downtrodden people, and it turns on the against the feudal lords in society. And it mocks at them and reveals the bitter truth about the human life in the countryside in Rajasthan. Okay, thank you.